Speaking of criticism for Donald Trump's moves on this, Virginia State Senator Richard Black, speaking to Sputnik, has called the strike on Syria a pretext, an obvious hoax. He said the pretext for the strike on Syria was an obvious hoax. Also, details coming in that the UN Secretary General has urged constraint on all sides to avoid any further escalation on this. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has also reacted to the strike, saying the recent claims about American exceptionalism have failed.
A sovereign state that for many years has been trying to survive terrorist aggression has suffered a series of strikes. Behind this are the people who claim to be moral leaders of the world and talk about their exceptionalism. Well, you must be really exceptional to conduct strikes when Syria finally got the chance for a peaceful future.
We can now cross live to Ziad Haydar, who is a local journalist in Damascus. Now, for hours after the first strikes targeted the Syrian capital, what's now happening there in the capital?
Hello, Mr. Ziad Haydar. It's Nikki and Jackie in the studio. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Hi,
great.
Yeah. Hi.
Okay, let's continue with... Let's continue with our questions. There is a slight delay on the line here. What do you think about the timing of the strike here?
Well, it's actually sarcastic in a way, because the chemical investigation team is supposed to enter Duma and investigate the issue of the presumed chemical attack that took place last week, which is the reason for all this aggression. So it's supposed to start investigating today as an international organization, not just as an independent, organization committee. So in a way, it is sarcastic that the Americans, the French, and the British didn't really need the proof, or didn't need to wait to see if this attack did actually happen, wait for evidence, wait for, for the usual procedures to happen. They just took their decision, and maybe they wanted to act before the investigation actually started, because they have suspicions about the whole incident. It's in a way, we were all expecting it to happen. We really didn't relate it much to the investigation, because the Americans have their own way of doing things, and in the way Mr. Trump has been reacting to this issue made it very clear that he is serious about the aggression. He is serious about using his arms against Syrian bases. He is serious about sending certain messages towards Iran and towards Russia. And the French and the British were on the same wave as Mr. Trump was. So in a way, it is sarcastic that the whole investigation hasn't started yet. The team is actually supposed to enter Duma around this hour to start the investigation.
And now, you are a local journalist in the Syrian capital, Damascus there. It's been a matter of hours since those strikes targeted the Syrian capital. Can you give us a sense of the atmosphere there right now? What's happening? How are people feeling?
It is the usual atmosphere that we get after every strike and even before it. It's just normal life. Today is Saturday. It's the second day in the weekly weekend, which is the Friday and Saturday. It's still early in the morning, but life is normal. People are out in the street. Well, I mean, they did wake up a bit earlier than they're used to on a holiday. The aggression started at 4 a.m. Syria timing. It lasted about 50 minutes, but we kept hearing the launching of anti-missile and anti-aircraft, at least near my where I live, near the research center that was hit in Barza residential area. We kept hearing until 5:15 the launching of anti-missile rockets, but the official media said that the whole strike lasted only for 50 minutes. I think 50 rockets were shot, according to the press. 13 of them were shot down, according to the official agency here, and 3 casualties only injured in the center of the country, in Homs, where another base where supposedly was supposed to hit, but I think the Syrian media has said that they managed to hit the rockets before they actually reached the base. But the atmosphere, back to your question, is quite normal. Life is again normal. This has been going on for 7 years, as we have talked about before, and in a way people are used to the atmosphere of war. They are used to starting their life all over again every morning, go to work and just live there, have their coffee in the morning, have their breakfast and then go to work. It's just normal life. It continues. No matter what happens, it continues.
Washington has also indicated that there's the possibility that there will be further strikes on Syria. Are there concerns about that in Damascus, or are there any preparations being taken for that?
Well, the preparations were made for this strike. I think any other threats are going to be considered as in the same way. Yes, the Pentagon said that it might happen again, depending on what the American president decides. And the American president is impulsive. It's very difficult to know what he has in mind for the day after. He can be judged by the day, but not by the week, not by a strategy. So in a way, yes, it could happen again. But again, if you look at the way the scale, his policy worked with North Korea, for example. One night he was sending his ships and warships to the borders of North Korea, and the second day he's meeting with their leader. So you never know really with the American president where his policy is going. But yes, again, he is impulsive, and it could happen again. And there's always a concern about the Americans, backing up their allies in Syria, such as the radical Islamic groups that exist in different pockets in the country.
And Mr. Haydar, you were saying just there about how people in Syria are used to getting up in the morning and starting their lives over again. They're used to this atmosphere of war, of airstrikes. But, there has been optimism in the past weeks, in the past months, especially with the Russia-backed humanitarian corridors. Some people thought that the worst was over. Do you think that these strikes have shattered those hopes and dreams, or do you think they never really believed that, it was all over and done with?
No, definitely. The atmosphere was very different after the Ghouta process started, and just before the Duma battle ended. The atmosphere was extremely different. Yes, it was. People were relieved. They felt that the capital is safe again, thanks to the Russians and thanks to the Syrian army and thanks to the efforts that were done in terms of avoiding some big battles, such as the one in Duma. But on the same track, the Syrians also know that it's the conflict in general is far from over, and the Americans and their allies will try to they're going to try to steal every possible optimism that they can find the Syrians are, gaining. They will not allow, and this is what you hear in the street, not just from analysis, a political analyst, or this is what the normal people are saying, that they're not going to let us, enjoy this victory in Eastern Ghouta. They're going to try to destroy it, or just going to try to put an obstacle. And this, there you go. The attack, the aggression on Damascus and on Homs is a way of stealing that optimism that took place in the past few weeks.
Ziad Haydar, who is a local journalist in the Syrian capital, Damascus there. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on this day. Now, we are we're hearing in the Western media that protesters on the streets of Damascus are waving Russian and Syrian flags. That's, of course, the morning after those US-led airstrikes hit the capital. So we'll try and get some images from the capital there for you later today.